Yeah, good afternoon to our esteemed viewers. This EcoTax studio where we discuss the environment raw. And today is a very interesting topic we are looking at renewable energy in the Nigeria space. And with me here today is
Engineer Abhon, and I'm an academic and a renewable energy expert. Thank you.
okay, welcome. Doctor has been on this field for some years. I've been opportunity to see some of his articles and write up on renewable energy, and that's where the world is moving to, the greener world, which we are promoting. So, Doc, can you tell us a little about this area, because a lot of Nigerians are yet to actually key in full into it?
Okay. First and foremost, I'm not a doc yet, doc in view.
Okay.
But renewable energy, it's quite as the name implies, is a source of energy that is sustainable. It means that it doesn't end, it doesn't finishes, right? It doesn't get depleted. So, for instance, as you already know, we have several sources of renewable energy, like the sun, which is called the solar energy, and we have hydro energy, which is like the seawater, and then we have tidal energy, which is also related to the sea, and we have wind energy, and these energies are they don't get depleted. It means that they exist from generation to generation, unlike the conventional energy that we know, which is the fossil fuel, right? And that get depleted, it finishes. So that's just the concept of the idea, renewable energy.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if I may ask, the government of the day, because I think everywhere in the world, everybody talking about going this energy that doesn't depreciate or gets finished. Everybody's looking to that direction. So, in terms of the Nigeria scape, what do you think the Nigeria government is doing in that regards?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. First, I would want to establish some of the benefits of the word renewable energy. It is Everyone is talking about climate change, like you rightly said. Climate change is one major stuff that is causing a lot of disaster, as we all know. And you talk about heat wave, it's climate energy, or rather climate change. You talk about bushfire burning, it's climate change. I think sometime early this year, we were experiencing some variation or discrepancy in terms of the climatic condition. If you could remember, we are currently in Port Harcourt. There was a period where the place was quite hot. It is as a result of climate change. And when you explain climate change to the layman, sometimes they may not necessarily understand what climate change is all about. But climate change, on the basic form, it's the normal activities that you and I do. Example, just to be very raw, the illegal refinery, which is also known as the fire activities. You know, the process in which they go through in trying to make the byproduct, which is the PMS or the diesel that you and I use, isn't the right process. I mean, it can be refined, no problem. But the way they go about it, when they do it in the raw form or in the way they do it, it tends to produce a lot of carbon emissions. What I mean by carbon emission is, the black smoke that comes out from your vehicle. So that's black smoke that comes out is called carbon monoxide. All right. When it gets into the atmosphere, it pollutes the environment. And that's when you see the what they call soot. I'm sure there are some few years ago, we were experiencing a lot of soot. Is as a result of majorly due to the illegal refinery activities. And when that stuff sort of happens, it tends to affect the ozone layer and affects our climatic conditions. So it tends to change the normal way in which it's supposed to be. And as you know, if we take a little bit, we go back a few years backward, You see, we have a lot of trees, and due to urbanization, there is a lot of exodus movement of people from the rural settlement into the urban settlement, and that goes or tends to increase the need for housing. And when there is need for housing, people tend to chop off trees, chop up the natural vegetations, and then they go about planting, or rather building structures for accommodation, right? And the least that they are supposed to do is to plant trees, because what trees do is that they absorb carbon monoxide, whereas humans, we breathe oxygen and release carbon dioxide, right? And then these trees breathe in carbon dioxide and then give out energy. So that circle is what comes about the, what do they call it? Conservation, or the ecosystem. It tends to balance the ecosystem. But when people chop off those trees and then they don't replant it, it brings about climate change. And now, specifically to answer the question you asked, what is the government doing about it? If you could remember, sometime last year, 2023, there was the federal government recently passed an act or a policy, which is the Electricity Act. All right. The idea behind, before now, there has only been one Electricity Act, which was the 2015, 2005, which was by President Olusegun Obasanjo. And that act, basically, it's due to the privatization of the electricity. Before now, right? The electricity sector has always been on the concurrent list. What that simply means is that it is only the federal government that has the license for them to generate, transmit, and then distribute. Like, we have three major subsectors of the electricity or the energy sector. Like I said, generation, transmission, and distribution. For the generation aspect, of course, we do have some players in the market that tends to occupy that space. But for that of transmission, it is solely based on the federal government prerogative, which is being controlled by the transmission company of Nigeria, which is known as TCN, as you know. And then for the distribution, we have about 18 discos in Nigeria. We are in Rivers State, so we have the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company. So going back to the Electricity Act, which is the Electricity Act 2023, what that has done is that it has given states the license or the mandate for them to generate electricity themselves, transmit electricity themselves, distribute electricity themselves, and further, there's a specific aspect that a lot of persons tend to ignore, which is metering. You know, when you're able to generate energy, you need metering for you to be able to do your checks and balances. Am I right? Because you want to know if what you generate is what the consumer ends up getting, so that, you know, you can account for if there is any area where there are losses. So that Electricity Act, or the Electricity Policy 2023, actually looks at different aspects of or sources of electricity being generated, and renewable happens to be one of them. So yes, the government is also keen on adding renewable energy as a source of power generation in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much for this. You took us down lane, but you said the government is interested. We know they should be, but what I'm asking, I need to know active role, if there's any government. Because good thing you said now, the federal government have given the states that license. Is it a privilege now? Is it privilege?
The mandate, the license.
The mandate now. So, is there any states of the federation you can pinpoint that this is what they are doing in terms of renewable energy?
Yes. First and foremost, it's there are, as you already know, the law was only being passed 2023, and this is 2024. And between 2023 and 2024, we are already in the third quarter, or rather, in a few days from now, we'll be in the third quarter of 2024. There are a couple of states that have been able to pass their bill into law. And before now, for you to be able to generate, it is being controlled extensively by an agency called the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. They are the sole in charge of the regulation of electricity generation, distribution, transmission in Nigeria. They give you the license for you to do that. But with this act that has been passed, yes, before you can unbundle or before you can step out of or before you can benefit from this act, states, individual states, they need to be able to pass their own state-owned electricity act. And there are some states that have done it. Example, Lagos State. And Bayelsa State recently passed the Electricity Act or Electricity Bill. Edo State has done it. A few other states has done it. But it's quite unfortunate because we have 36 states in Nigeria. And for such a awesome opportunity that the federal government has, and this is the first time, let me just quickly say this. This is the first time where a state-owned law supersedes a federal law. As you already know, the conventional system or conventional way is that federal laws supersede state law. But this is the first time in the history of Nigeria where a state law supersedes federal law, meaning to say that states, whatever they decide to do in terms of the electricity market or the electricity sector in the state, federal government have no control over it.
Let me come in here. You said it was passed last year by the federal government.
That's right.
And if I should calculate, it should be more than possibly 6 or 8 months ago.
Yes, it's more than.
Okay, let me ask somebody who is an advocate in this area, because I've read your articles, I've read some of your write-up on this area. What are you people doing, or what are you doing and some of your group doing to ensure that most of these states do this thing? Because, like I said now, I'm even in Gloria that even River State has not yet signed, and most people are not even aware. So what push are you people making in terms of publicity and awareness on this area? Okay.
In 2020, 2023, in 2021, Lagos State, as you know, they've always been proactive in terms of the, in every aspect in Nigeria.
No, sorry. What I mean, let's take from 2023, when the federal government passed it into law.
Yes.
Manskin, some few states, maybe you just counted about 3-4 states.
That's right.
But some of these states, like River State, maybe Delta State, because I'm looking at the Niger Delta now.
Okay.
What are you people doing? What are you doing in terms of ensuring that these state governments do this? Because most citizens are not even aware of what we are talking about.
Absolutely.
So what awareness are you creating to ensure that these state government, especially those in the Niger Delta, pass this bill into law?
Okay. I heard your question correctly. I'm trying to build up. In 2021, you know that Lagos State has a blueprint in which they work with, right? I think they foresaw this issue happening because of the constant break or constant collapse of the national grid. Meaning to say that the national grid itself, the stress on it, it's too much. So that was the reason why there was a committee, that was a technical committee that was being set up called the Presidential Technical Committee on Power. All right. One of the proposals or recommendations of that committee is for there to unbundle or decentralize the national grid, meaning to say that in each geopolitical region, they should have their own control over their national grid, or rather, over their regional grid, right? That is one of the recommendations. And that gave birth to this Electricity Act that we're talking about. Now, I was part of those that helped the Lagos State government in drafting that Electricity Act. Same Electricity Act was taken down to the Ministry of Power in Bayelsa State. Like you know, I said I based in Bayelsa. Was taken to the Ministry of Power Bayelsa State for them to trend in similar manner because I foresaw that happening, right? And that was the little that I did. Let us be real, like you said, in the Niger Delta region. So starting from Bayelsa State, as I speak to you right now, I was part of those that are in the technical committee that drafted the Bayelsa State Electricity Bill, that is now a policy document, all right? And I believe that with this singular act, other states within the Niger Delta, Edo State has done it. Very soon, River State will do it. So, of course, it is. They said a journey of 1,000 days or 1,000 miles begins with a step. So, if it has happened in Edo State, it has also happened in Bayelsa State. It is definitely to spread across the other Niger Delta states. That I can assure you.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good one. We'll just take some few questions in this clean energy.
Okay.
Then we'll just discuss a little about the Niger Delta Climate Change Summit.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but I find that last time I wanted to change my battery in the house.
Okay.
The amount they were telling me was just too, I just have to pack the battery. I won't lie to you. Because I know I bought that battery at 100,000 then.
That's
but
right.
I think they're calling me that 400,000 now to get another battery to replace that battery. The question I'm asking, we said it's renewable.
Yeah.
It's from natural sources, meaning it ought to be even what the poor man can afford.
Okay.
But why is it that the renewable energy now we are now promoting is now becoming even more expensive, that is not even left for just few? What is the reason and what are people going to do about it?
Okay. It's this question you asked sort of linked to what the federal government is doing about it. You see, some governments across the world, especially the West, they try to create about incentive for any technologies to strive in any country, in any nation, right? It means that the laws need to be favorable for those technologies to move forward, or for there to be progress, right? Now, we are talking about example, solar home system that you've made mention about. Currently, we are having the reason for the hike or the increase or the sudden how expensive they are. It's because of the fluctuation in terms of the exchange rate, right? Because we do not have, these items are not being manufactured in Nigeria. And if they are not manufactured in Nigeria, it means that they are what? They are being imported. And as you know, when the cost of importing these items is high, it means that the item itself will be very expensive. I remember when I did my first solar home system, batteries were about 70,000 and even less, because I even did it at a later phase. Batteries initially, they were about 60,000 naira, 50,000 naira. You could get a very good dry cell battery. But now batteries are as expensive as 300,000, 400,000, depending on the capacity that you're looking at. So for me, I feel that the Nigerian or the federal government has a lot of role to play, in the sense that they need to encourage manufacturing. We have the resources, the raw material used in making solar. We have it in Nigeria. It is silicon. The raw materials used to make batteries, it is in Nigeria, in the north. Foreigners come to Nigeria, they take up these materials and then use it in manufacturing the process, and then we buy them. So I think that the federal government has a lot of role to do in terms of encouraging manufacturing process in Nigeria. Of course, like normally what Ben Bruce will say, when it's being produced locally, you don't have any need for you to request dollar exchange, right? So the price would naturally be lower and affordable for the common man.
Yeah, because I was coming to that, because I know we have these material resources in the country. I was coming to that. I know there is somebody, I think in Abhon state.
Yes.
Producing stuff. I think Zodek. I mean, this is
Zodek.
Zodek.
Yes.
I think I heard there are two people in Lagos too.
Yes.
Still doing the same stuff. So, but it's just that it seems the government or whether state or federal, they don't seem to invest in fintech stuff that are coming up, because if they actually pump a lot of resources in all this stuff, then the millions they are spending on these our power system that seems not to be giving us what we want, I think it will go a long way. But let me ask and come this way. We talked about so many, apart from this solar.
Yes.
We said we have the wind, the hydro, the tides.
Yes.
I don't know. Kind of the one we're using before now used to be hydro from the dam.
Yes.
Yeah. And possibly we all know the experience of that one.
That's right.
Yeah. So if I may ask now, is there any state that's actually tapping from either wind or tide as a means of renewable energy in this country?
The major one that most of the states are using is the gas power plant. As you know, we are from the Niger Delta region. There is an abundant or enormous amount of gas. Recently, Abia State, they just inaugurated, or they just, what do they call it? They launched the 140 megawatts gas power plant. And as you know, Aba happened to be an industrial hub where a lot of social economic activities are happening. And I think that it is that project didn't just happen overnight. It is a lot of work that happened. It took them a lot of years. And I feel that if we, in Niger Delta region, we have the resources, which is gas, right? Then I think we should be looking at tapping into gas, because gas is, although it may not be considered as a what do they call it, a renewable energy. It's arguable, right? It is, but it is one of the cleanest sources of energy you can ever think about, other than the normal PMS that we use, or the coal that we burn in Enugu to produce electricity. So gas is a clean source of energy, and I feel that every state should replicate similar stuff. Let us go back to Bayelsa State. The first gas power plant in Nigeria is located in Ogbia local government, a community called Imiringi. They call it the Kolo Creek gas power plant. It is about 71 megawatt gas power plant. And it was serving the entire state as a whole. But as you already know, there is always one thing that we face in Nigeria. When politics step into the game, or into the sector, into any sector, it tends to mess things up. It tends to spoil things. The gas power plant that used to work those days, as we speak right now, is dead. It's just lying fallow there in Bayelsa State. And currently it is PHEDC that is supplying Bayelsa State electricity. It is not supposed to be like that. If you look around you, we have a lot of resources. We are surrounded with water. Am I right? So we can tap into, what do they call it? The hydro energy, like you made mention of. We have a lot of land. I mean, this is a query. We have vast amount of land. We can set up, what do they call it? A solar power plant to generate energy. We don't even need to think too big. We could just say, this is Eliozo, right? Yes. Within Eliozo, you could decide to set up smaller, or they call it modular mini grid systems that could cater for this community as a whole. So all you need to do is for you to do a feasibility study to know what is the power load or the energy consumption of this building. Because if you try to build up a big system, if it collapses, it means that everyone is going to be in darkness. So it's safer, or it's better, or it's more economical when it's built in mini forms, smaller forms, by that, modular forms. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I think this last question, before we just briefly talk about the climate summit. I have a friend.
Yes.
I'm coming to this thing you said now. I have a friend in UK. She told me, like, the government or the district, they allow people, individual, to set up this mini grid, and if they have Essex, you can now sell that to people that actually need from it.
That's right.
Yeah. This question is on two forms. Does one need a license to do that in this country? Because I know a friend of mine, Fine Face, they did a project in one of these communities in Delta State, did the same solar stuff now. The community, it was not by force. Those who are interested were given. Okay. They paid their monthly stuff. And last time when he told me, he said, people are even complaining that the voltage is not even too high for them. They should even bring it down. Okay. What I'm saying, it has been done somewhere. What is stopping the replication? Does it need a license to operate? Does we need to do that? And if we do, what are the steps? So that those who are actually listening to us that will be interested in this stuff should be able to know how to go about it. And to me, it's like a challenge I'm giving to the Nigerian Environmental Society in Bayelsa State. If this can be the project they should do in a community, so that they will tell the government it's working. So in a nutshell, do they need a license for it?
Yes, it's a yes and no. If you want to generate electricity beyond 1 megawatt in Nigeria, you need a license.
It's
solar. No, any source. But since you're talking about mini grids right now, and mini grid has to do with when most persons say mini grid, their focus is on solar. So let us just limit it to solar. Yes. So if you want to do a mini grid system or a mini grid solar system, let's just make the solar pronounced. Anything beyond 1,000 megawatts, then you need a license from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which is NEC in short. If you're producing anything below that, you don't need a license from them. So some smart businessmen definitely want to produce 500. Yeah, just that way. Yeah. So you need if it's beyond 1,000, but anything below that. Now, also, for you to be able to set up a mini grid system, you need to get a license from the community people. You need to get their permission. It requires a lot of large expanse of land for you to set up a mini grid system. And there are checks and balances that need to be in place. Now, if you do things without going through the normal checks and balances, and then there becomes a complication. We already have PHED, that is, they have the network infrastructure where you have a meter in your house or you have light coming into your house. You didn't do that, right? The network infrastructure is already there. It means that if individuals set up a mini grid system, they also need a network infrastructure. And you can see that it is actually capital intensive, right? It is capital intensive. So what your friend did, it can be replicated across board. It can be replicated across different communities or different states. It is actually a welcome development. And I think every business person, there is so much opportunities with the passage of this Electricity Act 2023 that I mentioned about. You too, you should consider setting up, maybe in a university like Uniport, you should consider setting up a mini grid, supply lights to the people or the residents along that cluster. Just identify one community and do it. Mind you, it is capital intensive, so you need consultants, you need experts like myself to give you the right advice for that.
There's no problem. Only time come, we'll get to that. Thank you very much. We are at the EcoTask studio, where we do environment raw. We will be talking with Dr. Adus, a PhD in view. He's a nice one, an expert in renewable energy, and he has explained a lot to us. He even told us about the act that was passed last year, in which a few states are just actually tapping in. Doc, the issue of climate change, we said, it's a global issue.
That's right.
And a lot of countries are actually doing a lot of things in place. But it seems Africans, we are still sleeping. We are yet to do anything. We are just taking this fund, sorry to say, they're just taking this fund and not actually putting it into mitigation and adaptation issue that will be climate change. The climate change summit for the Niger Delta is coming up this year.
That's right.
Can you tell us what people should expect in that summit? It's a proposed summit that will be coming up this year. What are the things you expect stakeholders to deliberate on in this summit that will better the people and ensure that the effect of climate change is not seen mostly in these people? Because there's a high rise in sea level. These are climate change. The temperature is going up. Even crops, they are being affected. What do people expect in this summit that's coming up?
Okay. For me, I feel that it's not enough for us to talk about climate change and some of the effects that it's causing. As you can see, generally, it has a very negative implication on on the ecology. When you go to places like Brass in Bayelsa State, you see the coastal water level has gone. People are losing their lives and properties, and erosion, massive erosion, as in the highest level of erosion that we've never seen before. And the heat wave that you made mention about, we experienced it sometime early this year. And so I think it's the conference or the convention should be a good platform for where critical stakeholders should come together to dialogue as to what is the way forward. It's not just about discussing. We come up with actionable plans on how we can move from where we are currently to where we want to be. So that is what I would expect, ideally, from this summit that will be coming this year.
Okay. Thank you very much. We hope to see you next week at the studio. And God being so kind and great, we might be in Bayelsa for this summit this year. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.